Buying a home in 2026 may involve some more expenses than some buyers are planning on. Here's what you need to budget for to purchase a home in 2026. How much cash do buyers really need to close in 2026? Most buyers are going to need between 2 to 5% of the purchase price available to close above and beyond their down payment. What is the biggest closing cost that buyers forget to budget for? The biggest closing cost that buyers sometimes forget to budget for may be things like their lender fees associated with closing, fees with the title company, fees associated with a home inspection, radon test, those types of things, and the possibility that they may be contributing to their real estate agent fees at closing as well. So what fees are paid directly to the lender? So your lender is certainly going to be charging a loan origination fee. You're also going to be paying for the appraisal. And then there are additional fees that you're going to be paying in the closing process with the title company, prepaid expenses for your taxes, and then also for your homeowner's insurance policy. What upfront fees are due even before you move in the home? Buyers usually have to prepay part of their homeowner insurance policy and also part of their property taxes. Those are held by the lender in an escrow account so that there's sufficient funds to pay those, as costs may fluctuate over time with your taxes and homeowner's insurance. How much do inspections, appraisal, and things like radon testing really cost? So obviously these numbers can vary, but a general home inspection is probably going to cost you somewhere around $500. A radon test is probably going to run somewhere in the neighborhood of $175 to $200. An appraisal could easily be $500 to $600 or more, depending on the type of property you're purchasing. Then you have to think about whether or not you might end up doing additional tests, which could include a mold test, a pest inspection, or in some cases, like a structural inspection. How come cash to close can change a few days prior to the closing date? Final numbers can shift due to property tax prorations, rate changes, credits, and escrow adjustments, and sometimes that can happen just days prior to closing. Can buyers reduce their cash to close in 2026? Yeah, there are some things that could happen to reduce your cash to close in 2026. One of those things could be if it's possible to negotiate a seller credit for your closing costs. That's not often easy to do in the market we're in, but sometimes it is possible. And then sometimes lenders offer things like first-time home buyer grants, these types of things that can help offset your closing costs or even assist with your down payment. What expenses surprise buyers after closing? So sometimes buyers don't think about utility deposits that they have to make, the cost of actually moving, whether that's hiring a moving company or buying pizza for your friends who are helping you move. Not to mention, it's not uncommon, you move into a new house and there may be some things you want to do right away, like rip up some carpet, install some new flooring, painting, or even just making some minor repairs. Most buyers aren't budgeting for those things when they first start thinking about buying a home. What's the biggest budgeting mistakes that buyers make when they're buying a new home? The biggest mistake buyers make when they're budgeting to buy a home is that they only think about the cost of the down payment and they don't think about lender closing costs, appraisal fees, home inspection fees, or even just the cost of moving. How can buyers prepare financially before they even start looking at houses? The best way that a buyer can prepare for the home buying process and all the expenses that are associated with it is to meet very early in the process with their real estate agent and have them walk through the home buying process and the fees and expenses associated along the way. And on top of that, talk to the lender as well, who can provide a pretty thorough breakdown of the costs associated with closing the loan, working with the title company, those types of things. When you understand the real cost of buying a home ahead of time, some of these fees due at closing or expenses that come up even after closing are less of a shock to the system and more of a formality that you expect and that you're prepared for.